Hey, welcome guys back to Channel Maverick here with episode 3 of Wave Listen to Me. So, I'm still continuing to play catch up to the current series, the current episode of the series, I mean. And in the last episode, we got Minare finally taking the first step to becoming a radio host, a radio personality. So we can probably expect her to start out as a sort of assistant, maybe co-host a show with, who is that other girl called Chishiro, right? Chishiro, who is already a veteran of the industry, and then maybe play off each other and sort of learn the ropes, right? Now, what I'm really curious about is how they are going to continue this story going forward. Is this going to be purely centered around a lot of the day-to-day stuff of creating a radio show? That is something that I'm actually really looking forward to, if they can go into the more details, the more specifics of how these things actually go, right? I am really curious about this kind of stuff. I always love it when animes can combine, knowledge about a particular subject that I'm interested in and maybe not that familiar with, or maybe I have a certain level of familiarity, but not quite enough, right? And then once you finish it, you can say, oh yeah, I can kind of understand how this industry works now, right? Beyond that though, last episode at the very end, we also had some foreshadowing of some dude who, I don't know, was kind of in hysterics or something. I don't believe we've seen him before, so probably some more drama is on the way. In any case, let's get right into the episode. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Alright, it was this guy, right? At the end of last episode. Glasses dude. Who are you again? Huh? This is a Buddhist chant. What? What? Okay, I'm guessing maybe he also works in radio, and we got another weird guy on the way now. I'm drinking Killing Beer today, by the way. Since the series is more of a seinen series, a little bit more mature, I think Minare would approve. By the way, I think during last episode, the review part, I actually talked a lot about how hard it is to talk to yourself and try to provide commentary. Even doing something like this, a reaction or a review of an anime, really hard. Not to mention what they are trying to do. I do feel like it's kind of similar in a way, like what I am doing, and what radio personalities are doing. It was. Oh. So what? Yeah, what is your ideal worker?
ま、それはそういうもんでしょう。前から割と不思議なんですけど、宝田さんってミナレさんばかりに当たり強くないっすか？あいつね、ゲーなんだよ、ゲー。しかも触り魔。
Oh, really?
厨房と客席を仕切る壁んとこに来店した有名人の写真貼ってあるでしょ。あれ見て何か気づかない？いや、あの写真さ、相手が女の時は普通っつかどうでもいいんだけど、若い男の時は必ず相手に手回してんだよ。言われてみれば。通りで厨房でケツ触ったのは本当だ。本当に？てか、ケツ触られてる時点で気づいとけっての。明日から男二人笑い色の夢空間。
Is Minare actually a Fukusho?
やめてくださいよ。
uh,
やっべえ仕事どうしよう。ついに赤門入りか。俺も手伝いますから、明日の昼から探しましょうよ。なぜだ。男運の尽きた今の私なら、本来反比例的に仕事運が話が違うじゃねえ
has this guy got friend zoned?
誰が言ったんですか？鏡隆二先生に決まってんだろ。貯金でさ、少しの間はしのげるかと思ったのに、考えたら来月部屋の更新と出費があってさ、シャレになってくるんですよ。うち来ます。どうしたんすか？いやー、びっくりした。今あんたの部屋で暮らしたらどうなるか高速でシミュレートしてみたんだけどさ、その結果は最終的にあんたたぬき工事で腹刺されて死んだわ。知らん女に。あなたの中でどういう世界の住人なんですか？
What?
憲法を習ってたんですか？ただの大声&全力足踏みだよ。酔っ払いのやること本気にするなバカ。中原くん、あんたと私を結びつけたものはスープカレーでしょ。だからサラッサラの関係でいたいのよ。スープ状の。
What?
ミナレさん、人の気持ちをそんな半角臭い比喩で。いや、別に恋人っぽい恋一切なしでも大丈夫ですよ。いや、無理でしょ。私寝るとき全裸だよ。
Yeah, he got friend zoned.
ねえバカ、お前を試してんだよ。上下ショーツだっつうの。はい。あんた以後全裸ってあだ名でいい？
I mean, she's kind of drunk, so will she remember this tomorrow?
これなら文句ないだろう。
That was a pun.
全裸。お前と私は今宵を限りに一度たもとを分かつ。しかし、私が本当の意味で食い詰めた時、再びお前の前に現れるだろう。その時まで。
What is wrong with this girl?
自分に都合のいいことだけ言い放って帰っていった。
Why are you narrating this, dude?
頼りにしてるってことかな。つまりは
Right.
それを喜ぶ男がどこにいる？
Friend zone, nice guy, whatever. What's the current N word for this? I think it's called simp, simping or something like that. I, I think so. Anyways, is that how you use the word? I'm out of touch.
止めてくれる人が欲しいんだ。誰か、水を。死ね、マジで。
Wait, what?
キリンのブースが好きだった。食べ物は世界のビール園が一番うまい。このジレンマ。シャワー浴びなきゃ。
What? Wow. You are strong.
おまわりさん、家に暴漢が。いえ、暴れたのは私ですけど、とにかくもう寝るシャツの中履き系というか。つまり、
Oh, you got into someone else's house?
私が毎回酔って帰って寝転がっていたのは開花のあなたの部屋の玄関先で、そんな私を毎回上まで背負って届けてくれてたのはあなたで、私を今に横たえて靴を揃えてくれてたのもあなただと。やりたくてやってたわけじゃないですよ。外にほっぽり出しても何度でも戻ってくるし、鍵をかければワンワン泣きわめいてドアを叩き続けるし、同棲してた彼しか誰かと間違ってるんだろうけど。じゃああれですかい。あっしは
This girl is hopeless.
靴を揃えてからベッドに倒れ込む几帳面な性分どころの話じゃなくて、郊外レベルの破滅型だったってことですかい。マトリックスで目覚めたキアヌ・リーブスじゃあ事件性なしということで我々もぼちぼち。あ、はい、お騒がせしました。
These two are like.
王毅さん、9月頭から帰郷するとか。ないですね。おお、どうした。ああ、オンエア中だが少しなら。マトさん、エマージェンシー、エマージェンシー。ラジオの仕事私受けるよ。それとね、藻岩山ラジオに私の寝床を用意してくれ。そうか。なんか
This girl.
よろしくお願いします。何？でも登るの？この後。男もいないのに登るわけないでしょ、あんな山。これは倉庫を自分色に染め上げるための課金アイテムです。ああ、悪い悪い。倉庫は一旦置いといて、先にちょっと仕事の話しようや。
Yeah, you for
どっか下ろさせてもらっていいですか。20キロあるんです。服と布団でなんでそんなになるんだよ。ガラスの仮面の文庫版とか。
glass mask.
ああ、どうも。
That's like a very popular manga series.
お前、冠番組を持っているべきだ。
Wow, just like that?
冠番組。ああ、すみません。今なぜか脳裏にイングリモングリのビジョンが。本当になぜなんだよ。冠番組ってあれですよね。確かホスト役の人の名前がタイトルに。
Yeah, that's
タモリクラブとか徹子の部屋とか。テレビでいやその辺だな。ラジオなら小田ミナレのオールナイトニッポン。
yeah. Night Nippon. That's a really, really probably one of the biggest shows in radio shows in Japan.
ですよね。
No, but
聞いたことある？ないです。
うん
結構長い番組なんだがな。その枠を少し削ってお前に番組を持たせようと考えてる。
wow.
それは番組内でコーナー化するってことですか。獅子まどかさんの番組内でやったような。いや、違うな。独自にスポンサーを募ってお前一人の冠番組。
Starting from zero. That is
お前以前うちを札幌の地方局と言ったが、これでも JFL の加盟局だ。 JFL ってのはジャパン FM リーグの略。
I know this.
ほらなんだ。道内7カ所に中継局を持っている。北海道中にお前の声が響き渡るぞ。つっても当然結局は道内の話だから、そこまで有名人になるわけじゃないけどな。
Because they are more of a local radio.
いやいや、またマトさん。私別に売名欲があるわけじゃないんで。お前今むちゃくちゃみんなの将来設計描いてますって顔してたぞ。俺カリスマ店員で十分だし。クビになっただろ。見損なわないでもらおう。女がみんな著名人と結婚したがってると思ったら大間違いだ。いやー、著名人ということかは知らない。マトさん、私がその話で一番感じた。
This Yeah. But if he wants her to find her own sponsors, that probably means she is responsible for how far she can go. Hmm. Yeah, but TV can be monitored automatically through TV boxes. Is this the lady she was talking? Uh-huh. This is the comedian that he was talking about last episode? Late night. Huh? Oh, she's staying with her. Okay. Are you sure you should be spending your money on wine and stuff? Okay. 2400 yen. It's okay. Yusa. Oh, she's an AD. Okay. Sure. You receive mail. Yeah. I love it. We're actually getting into the details of this stuff. She's act. That's kind of true, though.
あれかなーり持ってますからね。はあ、なんですと。止めちゃまずいのは本当ですけど、実際に8秒無音になったとして反省会が開かれて終わりだと思いますよ。
Really? But this is actually something that I've always heard as well.
ラジオを聞いたところにリスナーが基本好意的だってのがあるんですよ。話し手さんが結構忙しちゃってもクレームがほぼ来ないというか、
Well, that's true. I like this girl. She's cute.
今日すっごく楽しかったですよ。ずっとミナレさんと話したいと思ってたから。なんで？やっぱりあの日の印象が強烈で、ああ、この人私がぼんやりと思ってたことを言葉にしてくれてるって。知の果てまでも追い詰めてくれて、
Huh. Well, that's definitely something.
あ、すみません。でも正直言うと私、彼氏がいたことないので、多分理解できてない部分もある。
Okay, so what Minari says actually resonates with listeners. That's also very important.
そんなに印象はちょっと昔同級生にも同じこと言われたような。あ、そうだ。あれ聞きましょう、あれ。
So it's actually Free Freddy right now. They're gonna listen to that. So it's Free Freddy right now.
10分に1回ジングルが流れますけど、基本はそうですね。音量を絞って流しておくと無音よりも安定できるんですよ。おやすみなさい。
And now sh
ラジオ局の AD すら眠りにつく午前3時半。皆様いかがお過ごしでしょうか。小田ミナレです。
Okay, this is getting. I love it. I love it. But anyways, I'll see you guys after this. Alrighty, episode 3 of Wave Listen to Me, and man, there is just so much I want to talk about from this show. First of all, so I did not actually expect them to instantly give her a radio show of her own, and a named radio show at that. It's definitely a big risk, a big gamble to allow an amateur to do something like this, even though it is at a more non-optimal time, if you will. But still, the entire logistics of actually launching a new radio show, this dude has got some guts, right? He is willing to make this bet here, and well, things are certainly accelerating at a rapid pace here. I mean, if this was real life, I would highly doubt that this could happen, but it is anime, right? So we gotta exaggerate things a little bit. And by the way, what they were explaining here about being a named radio show, so once again, I am looking at this from a perspective of someone who listens to anime radios, and not, so anime radios where the personalities, the radio hosts are seiyus, and not normal regular radio. So there might be some slight variation, but I think the general idea of it is still the same. So basically, when we have a radio show, it can be named various ways, right? It could be a name such as I literally, dang it, I forgot what they call it here. in this episode, but it could be just a named a segment which describes what this radio is supposed to be about, right? So the radio segment that she's taking over, or the radio slot, the radio program that she's taking over was originally one that kept on playing music, right? And so the name reflects that. And if it was, if you think back to normal radios, right, where you would have maybe a radio host, doing a brief intro or whatnot before each song and so on and so forth. That could be so, but for the most part, the radio program would still be called the same thing. So they would be able to rotate and switch the radio host. It's not any person's particular radio just for that person, right? Now, in cases of a named program, though, I'm translating it as named program here because I don't really see a better translation. Basically, you're putting the name of the radio host into the program itself. So you're basically saying, yeah, this particular program is made by me, and you're here because you like this radio host, right? So there's a subtle difference here. For other kinds of radios, you could say, literally, they could rotate the radio host, right? And indeed, that is a very common theme to do. You would stick on a radio for a few years and then rotate to another radio host. Or if it's a case of a daily radio, then they might switch like every few days or whatnot, to have a good rotation here, right? So, for instance, again, coming from an anime radio perspective here, so the terminology, just it being called anime radios should give you guys an idea, like where these kinds of radios came from. They typically came out of animes. So, for instance, let's say we have what's a popular series this season, like Kaguya-sama, right? So for instance, Kaguya-sama, it has a coupling radio show with it. The name of it would be in some ways related with the work of the anime or the manga or whatever the original work was in question. So it might have fixed radio host. Of course, they will be choosing one or two of the main cast to be the main radio personalities, the main radio host of this particular radio, and then they might also get some guests as well. But for the most part, this radio is just here specifically for this particular work, right? And once this work stops airing or whatnot, typically it will also stop. However, for a named radio, on the other hand, which gradually came out of these sort of anime radios, because once the seiyus themselves actually got their own brand power and whatnot, and people started actually following the seiyus, the voice actors and voice actresses, rather than just for a specific anime or a specific work, then they started to do these sort of named radios as well, where it doesn't have any relation to any specific anime or any specific manga or light novel in question, but it's really just you're just listening because you like this particular seiyu, right? And so that's the kind of difference here. So by allowing Minare to do something like this, he is basically saying, yeah, I think you can build your own brand power. I think listeners will want to listen to your program, not because it is, not because the contents of it or the segments of it are particularly innovative or interesting or whatnot, but because we believe the listeners want to listen to you, Minare. So that is a difference here. And indeed, I listen to both kinds. And if any of you guys do kind of want to go or delve into the world of anime radios, I can't really say I listen to a lot. One of my longtime viewers here, Sekenso, actually listens to a lot of radios, and I'm sure he's also lurking around here as well. Personally, the only radio that I follow more religiously would be Sakura Toshita Onishi, which is a radio that's here for about 5 years now, hosted by the voice actresses Sakura Ayane and Onishi Saori. Two female seiyus, and quite the popular radio, I might say. The male equivalent, I guess you could say, of it, or shouldn't even really say male equivalent, because the other radio here I'm talking about here is like even way more established than Sakura Toshita Onishi. The other, I haven't particularly listened to this one, but for those of you who want to listen to two dudes instead, Dear Girl Stories, very long time radio hosted by Kamiya Hiroshi and Ono Daisuke. It's been on air for 13 years now, and it is still popular as heck. But anyways, I'm just bringing these examples up as basically how it, once you can establish your own brand, your own personalities, you can eventually turn these into very long running radio segments where people will just flock to you and continue to listen to you for your personality. It's sort of similar to like being a YouTuber or being a Twitch streamer or something like that, right? It's all the same. You build your personality, you build your brand power, and then it doesn't really matter what it is that you do. People will still follow you to do whatever it is. And in this episode, they also mentioned something very interesting, which is the sponsors of the radio, right? Because obviously somebody's got to pay the bills, right? And it's not actually the radio station that's just doing this for free. You don't pay anything when you listen to the radio, right? It's free. Although in the case of some of these anime radios or more web-based, internet-based radios, they sometimes do put them behind a paywall, although to be honest, I think that is a very outdated practice. Japan has this tendency to put a lot of stuff behind paywalls. It's just their mindset is still stuck back in the 80s and 90s, but thankfully it has been getting better and better through these years once they realize that, hey, sometimes by providing something for free, people you'll generate this sort of brand loyalty that can eventually translate into sales in other sorts of merchandise here. And indeed, one funny thing, kind of a tangent here, but because of the COVID-19 situation, I'm actually seeing a lot of these formerly paywalled content actually appear on places like YouTube as well. You can, something that I've observed over these past few months is that tons and tons of seiyuu are actually starting their YouTube channels and whatnot. So in the past, they would always put this behind some sort of, they would put their content behind some sort of like if it's a radio, then one of the big radio stations or whatnot. But now they are actually putting it on YouTube and pursuing different models of revenue generation here. But like I said, that's kind of a tangent here. We can talk more about that later. For normal radio though, you don't pay to listen to radio. You need to get the money here somehow, right? And so that is through sponsors. Now, typically, anime radios are sponsored by the anime in question. So if it's non-named, like it's not named after the seiyus, then like if it's born out of a specific anime, the anime would be sponsoring it. And if it's not anime specific, such as for instance Sakura Toshita Onishi, which I just mentioned, is actually sponsored by 7-Eleven. Well, technically 7 & I Holdings, which is the mother company of 7-Eleven, the convenience store chain. But that is actually a pretty rare case. Most of the time you would actually see sponsors in the anime radio world to be things like publishers or record labels, things like of that nature. And in terms of normal radios, I'm expecting them to maybe be more like normal big corporations, I would guess. Like I said, I don't really listen to normal radio nowadays, so I'm not quite sure. I am very interested to see like how exactly they go through this process and what it's actually like. And I'm honestly really curious about the inner workings of this, right? So, I have experience with sponsorships in general, since I was a student and once I entered the workforce as well, which has been many years now. So I've been on both ends. I've received sponsorships for specific programs and activities and whatnot, and I've also been on the giving end and sponsoring other programs and activities as well. So I kind of have an idea of this. However, I do want to know, like, what it could be anything, right? It could be monetary sponsorships. It could be something more akin to providing some merchandise or providing some stuff free of charge. But at the end of the day, I do believe that you still need to receive monetary compensation in some sort of way, especially in the radio case where, like I said, somebody's got to pay the bills, right? And it's most likely going to be the sponsorship. So that's one of the things I'm most curious about, and I hope they do show the entire process all the way through. And I mean, like, there's just so much that I can touch on for this. Another thing to note is that this is actually going to be a daily program. This Wave Listen to Me show that Minare is hosting. And yeah, that's a lot of work, right? Because I think this goes without saying that just because a particular radio show is only like 30 minutes on air, like say for instance from 3:30 a.m. to 4 a.m., you got to put in a lot more work than just those 30 minutes. You're not going to be able to just go up there and wing it, right? If you will, then all the power to you. But generally, that's not going to happen. You would need to, you would need to go over the script, like even if you're not reading word for word from the script, you need a general outline of what you're going to talk about, the various segments that your radio is going to have. And you need to also consolidate and organize all the listener mails that you will receive. Obviously, we can see from the first episode that is something that she does. Lots of radios also use this concept as well. You know, you ask viewers to send in comments and whatnot, to send in mail, email, or snail mail. Do people still send in snail mail? I would guess so, actually. And particularly in Minare's case, where I don't believe that she's going to get an assistant, she's probably going to have to go for all that by herself, right? And she's going to have to talk with the Saka, talk with the writer, as to, you know, how she wants her radio to flow, and how to incorporate or how to go from segment to segment, and so on and so forth, right? There's a lot of pre-airing stuff that needs to go on. So as far as I know, for instance, if it was a half-hour show, the pre-meeting could be something like an hour or even 2 hours long, just to get everything set in stone. And that's not even and I'm not even calculating the amount of time that you need to spend doing other things, such as, like I mentioned, like the writer actually thinking of some interesting segments, or for instance the organizing mail part, right? So you know, it's I definitely feel like she is going to be spending a lot more time in the radio station than she thinks right now. And like I said, there's just so much stuff to talk about. When they were talking about the 3-second rule and 8-second rule being sort of fake, well, yeah, I mean, I've heard of that rule also a lot, so I guess it could be exaggerated. I don't think it's too far from the truth, though. Like, yeah, sure, they said that it's only going to be like a meeting to sort of ask themselves why this happened and whatnot. But if it happens too often, you can bet your ass that somebody's gonna get fired over this, right? So, yeah, it's whatever. Yeah, I don't want to talk. I don't want to go on for too long. Damn, I'm already talking for 14 minutes here. But yeah, basically, it's just touching on a lot of stuff. It seems that it is going to sort of go into detail as to all this, and I am super excited for that. Okay, so let's talk about the characters for a while, right? So, particularly, well, let's just talk about Minare. So, I think through this episode, we can definitely understand that she is one of those hopeless people, right? この人ダメです。ダメな. So basically not a very let's just say that she hasn't really gotten her act together yet, even though she is of age, a working adult, and so on and so forth, right? She's a loud, obnoxious drunk that doesn't realize she's a loud, obnoxious drunk. And honestly, if we're looking at her through 3 episodes now, I really don't think she has much tact dealing with these sort of business related situations, right? Then again, though, I feel like this personality is what's making her suitable for hosting a particular radio show, right? She's relatable, she's straightforward, and she gets herself into these sort of situations that, like I mentioned before, normal people don't really get into, and that is a cause for it's basically the stories write themselves, right? The things that you want to talk about write themselves. So you're never going to be afraid that you're going to run out of things to talk, and that is invaluable in this industry. So good on Minare, I guess. She's found her calling. But obviously, I would expect her to sort of struggle a little bit at the beginning here, particularly like a 3:30 a.m. segment. I mentioned this already in the first episode, right? I can get that they're trying to put her onto a time slot that's a non-prime time, right? You gotta work your way up, but still, like, how many people are actually going to be awake at 3:30 and listen to this? There are actually some people who record these shows, you know, and particularly in this day and age when there are again, Japan is a little bit backwards in regards to this, but they have been improving to have archives of the radios actually available on the web. So that could potentially be a thing to look forward to as well. As for the rest, the creepy dude from the ending of last episode turned out to be a nice neighbor, although he definitely still has some creepy tendencies, I gotta say. Her coworker from the restaurant there, Mr. Nice Guy. Don't really know if she's actually going to end up with him in the very end there. Maybe, maybe not. I don't think. Well, actually, I don't think that's quite fair. I was gonna say that romance probably isn't going to be that big a thing in this anime, but thinking onto it, one thing that I do want to kind of mention is I wonder if this is actually more. I know it's a seinen manga, but I wonder if it's also more towards the girl side, the shoujo side of things, because a lot of the things that they're talking about, a lot of the things that they are going through, the way that the characters are drawn and whatnot, it actually reminds me a lot of Nana, which is through and through a manga for aimed at girls, right? Even though lots of guys like to watch it as well. So, well, if that's the case, I wouldn't be surprised that romance is going to be a big thing within this series, particularly since Minare really seems to want a boyfriend. Who knows? There's certainly no lack of dudes in this anime, so she can have her picking if she just gets her act a little bit more together. Alrighty, so that has been like way too long, almost 18 minutes. But anyways, as you guys can tell, I am pretty excited for this series. I love it when I can actually learn some things from series and not just watch anime for, we watch anime for entertainment, but at the same time, if you can take something away from it as well, something more permanent, other than just good feelings at the moment, that is the best. So, hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.